I was a devout Christian who went to church every Sunday. I read the Bible multiple times through. I would go to Bible studies throughout the week as well. And yeah, everything that I did revolved around Christianity. My identity was rooted in that. Um, but once I started learning about manifestation, things started to kind of crumble. I was starting to doubt whether or not Christianity was real. Um, and I think this is mostly because the people that were Christians, the ones that I would go to church with. I know that they had negative perceptions of manifestation. They didn't believe in it and they thought it was evil to try to control something when ultimately it should be in God's control, or so they said. And so it made me start to question things. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about why I'm no longer religious, why I no longer identify as being Christian anymore. So, hi, I'm Allie, and on this channel, I talk about manifestation and self development. If you'd like to work with me, my links are in the description below. So, I'm going to go a bit into my personal story of how this started for me. I started looking into manifestation because I was interested in a specific person, as I feel most of us are, and that's how most of us get into manifestation. But once I started to get into manifestation, I just kept on digging that hole, I guess you could say. I just kept looking more and more into it. I did a lot of research. It really interested me of how everything worked, and yeah, I started to become a believer of manifestation, you could say. But this made me question and struggle with Christianity, those beliefs. I had identified as a Christian for most of my life. It was my identity for sure. I identified as a Christian and everything kind of revolved around that. I don't think I would I don't think I had an identity outside of that, to be honest. I used to study the Bible religiously, no pun intended, and I would write articles about Christianity. I used to have a website with a bunch of blog posts just about like Christian articles. Yeah, I was just really passionate about it. And when I started to learn about manifestation, it really it really caused this internal struggle within me. I didn't know how to reconcile manifestation and Christianity, because in the Bible, the way that I interpreted it back then, it was different than how I do now. It's just that in the Bible, it seemed like everything was in control from, God. We had to trust God and surrender control to Him and trust that He has the perfect plan for us. And um, it didn't really explicitly talk about manifestation. Um, Although now I do see it through the lens of manifestation, back then I didn't. I read it from a religious standpoint. And so it was hard to reconcile manifestation and Christianity because of that. And I remember one time I was in a Bible study with girls. I was a part of this Bible study, and the topic of manifestation had been brought up somehow. And I remember she was talking about manifestation in kind of like a negative light. She was saying that basically what I already said, that God's in control. I can see why people would want to manifest, to have that sense of control, to have the power in their hands rather than surrendering the control and power and give it to God instead and just trust that things will work out. So I could see her point, especially because I still identified as a Christian back then. And so yeah, I kind of kept this inside me for a while. I didn't talk about manifestation to people because I felt like an outsider in that regard. And I also felt like I was doing something wrong by manifesting, just because of the story that was fed to me through church, through the Bible, through Christianity in general. Um, so I struggled with this for like a year, and I think that really like deterred me from manifesting as well. It caused like a block for me because I felt like I was doing something wrong by even trying to manifest. And so, yeah, like I said, this has been something that I struggled with for about a year until finally I decided that I'm not going to be a Christian anymore. It didn't align with me anymore. It felt like when I would go to church, I just would feel depressed afterwards. I wasn't being true to who I was being inauthentic. And I think that really affected me. And because of that, I decided to leave Christianity. I decided to leave the church. It really wasn't an easy decision because I had identified as being a Christian for all of my life, basically. And I grew up with it and I stuck with it. I was really passionate about it. And so it wasn't easy, but it's a decision that I felt like was more authentic and honoring to me. So I did make it. And um, yeah, it was hard because since I identified so much with being a Christian, I was like, who am I? It's like that question of who are you? Who am I? If I'm not a Christian, who am I? That's what kept coming up for me. And so, yeah, it was hard, but I paved my own path. I feel a lot happier now. I feel more aligned with my life. I feel better about where I am now. And I know that there are some Christians who do believe in manifestation, and I respect that. I don't think that's something that I can necessarily do. It doesn't feel authentic to me. And I know that I do use the Bible sometimes to prove manifestation. I think it can be proven now since I have that worldview and that lens. I see the Bible differently now. I don't interpret it religiously anymore. But before, when I was a Christian, it was hard to reconcile both, having the religious interpretation and the manifestation interpretation. It was hard for me to reconcile both. So I think it's easier for me now to view the Bible in a different light. Anyway, I made this video because I felt like I haven't seen a lot of videos out there explaining this or explaining the struggle that someone might have between religion and manifestation. And I'm sure there are some of you out there who've had the same sort of struggle. So I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone, that you'll get through this, and that you'll be able to get to the other side if you are struggling right now. Because if I did it, you can do it too. So now I believe in manifestation. And I do believe in a higher power, but I believe that higher power lives within us, that we have the power and we can trust ourselves to create the life that we want, that we hold that kind of control. And I don't mean like micro controlling everything. I don't think that that's healthy, but we do have a say in how our life goes, and we really can do anything that we set our minds to. I think that's really powerful too, because in Christianity, I felt kind of powerless. I didn't feel like I had control. I had to just trust this outside thing that he was going to take care of me. But now I know I have self trust and confidence that I can take care of me and I have the power and the control. And that's really amazing for me to know now. So, just wanted to share this with you guys. You guys are not alone. If you guys need help, just let me know. And I have my links in the description below. I do offer one on one coaching. So just fill out the expressed interest form and I'll get back to you guys soon. So until next time, friends, bye.